Hi, welcome to the Waldock Way. I'm Jessica. And today's video is going to be a look at how I plan our homeschool year. So if you follow me on social media, you saw recently that I posted some images of like math and language arts where I had a ton of resources, and I said that we're very eclectic and that we use all of these resources in many different ways to meet the goals that I set for our first grade year. And that is true. That's how we do it. We jump around and use a little bit of everything as long as we meet those goals that I set. But there was many of you that asked me what goals we set, how I set my goals, would I share the goals that I set. And I really thought about it long and hard and decided that what I would do is I would come on here and I would share with you kind of the resources that I use and my method in setting those goals. But I don't really feel comfortable sharing the specific goals that I set for my daughter because I don't feel like every 6-year-old and every first grader is in the same place. And I don't want for you to compare your child to mine. I don't really know how else to say that. Not that mine's ahead or behind, but she's her and yours is yours. And I want you to set the goals that are appropriate for your child. So I'm going to show you what I use and kind of how I do it. And then hopefully it'll give you a little bit better of idea of how you can set goals for your child if that's what you want to do. So every year I sit down during the summer and I set goals for the upcoming year. I kind of review what we did and I figure out what we need to work on. And I set goals, and I only set them for language arts and math because all of the rest of the subjects were very child-led and interest-based. Not that we don't do them, but I don't have set goals. Now I may make a list of things that I would like to try to cover, or things I would like to introduce her to or expose her to, but it's not like, okay, she needs to know the periodic table, or she needs to, be able to do this in history, or, draw this in art or whatever. I don't do that for any other subject other than math and language arts. And then I use 2 books mainly to set my goals. And those books are the Home Learning Year by Year, which this is a preschool to high school guide. This is probably the #1 book that I would recommend. And then the other book is the What Your Whatever Grader Needs to Know. So this is the 2nd grader. I've used the preschool, kindergarten, and 1st grade book. This is mainly a read aloud if you've never seen it before. It covers literacy, math, history, science, and the arts. And what it does is, for instance, here is a spread. And it gives you all of those subjects in a read aloud. So normally we do read, for the most part, this entire book at some point. We have, read pieces and parts while they're in our morning basket, or as a topic comes up that she wants to know more about, or different holidays, because it includes that. Normally we do make it through this entire book as a read aloud, but it also gives me a good base to kind of see what a 2nd grader should know. So what topics are covered. So that's kind of a really good base for me. But the Home Learning Year by Year is way beyond a base. I don't know if I can really show you sufficiently, but I will do my best. So within each grade, and this happens to be 2nd grade that we're looking at, it lists language arts, math, science, history, art, foreign language, music. I think there's even health and physical fitness in here. So pretty much everything is listed. And then, like you can see here, it lists subcategories, like this is phonics, decoding, and reading. And within that, it tells you each of the standards or things that they should be able to do. So for instance, under phonics, decoding, and word recognition, it says decode regular 2-syllable words, understand basic rules of syllabication, increase knowledge of sight words, know meaning of common abbreviations, and read grade-appropriate materials aloud with proper expression and intonation. And then each one of those things gives you a definition of what it is. So it tells you more about it. It's not just oh, do this and it leaves you hanging. And there are reading comprehension, writing, listening and speaking skills, study skills. Those are all listed in the language arts section. In math, you have things such as number theory, You have fraction, operations, let's see, money and measurement, geometry, and it looks like that's about it. Oh, and time. And then, like I said, there's history and geography, all of the other things listed. Now, I will look through those other things, but I don't make goals for anything other than language arts and math. And the way I make my goals is I never set more than 10 goals at a time because I don't want to stress myself out and I don't want to stress my daughter out. And the first thing I'll do when I sit down to set my goals is I'm going to look at the first grade goals. I'm going to go through this book. I'm going to look at first grade. I'm going to make sure there's not anything that we missed. Maybe there's something we forgot about, which I actually have looked through it already. And I know that we need to work on alphabetizing. So it suggests alphabetizing to the second letter. So like not just the first, but the second as well. And that's something that I'm not sure she can do. She might be able to, but we haven't like practiced it. I haven't taught it. So I want to make sure that that becomes number 1 on my goal for second grade. So anything that's in first grade that we maybe missed or we need to review goes to the top of my next year's list. And then what I do is I look through the language arts and math and I pick out however many, other goals that get me to the 10 mark. And I pick out that many that I feel are the maybe most important. So maybe being able to write a letter isn't important to somebody else, but that's important to me. Like I want her to be able to write a letter. That's very important to me, even though we're no longer necessarily in the, snail mail age. But that is important to me. So I would put that, in my top 10. And then once she masters those 10, now I don't put one on every time she masters one. But once she masters those 10, or once we've gotten through those 10 goals, if we get through those 10 goals before, the school year is over, then I will go back and look at the language arts standards and goals and, things that they think that should be done. And I will add 10 more or however many more. And if, for instance, let's say this hasn't happened, but let's say I was to look and there was only 5 goals in second grade that she needed to work on for language arts. I would look to the next grade, which would be third grade, and I would pick, 5 of the most important goals there. So I only set myself 10 goals at a time, or set her realistically 10 goals at a time, but that only gives me 10 things to work on, so I'm not overwhelming me or her. And I don't necessarily hold her to the grade that she's in. But what I do is I go, sequentially in the grades to make sure that she's getting everything that she needs to get in one before we move on to the other. And if she already has it, I go ahead and move forward. I really, really like both of these books a lot. They have been super duper helpful. But if you were to only buy one, if you can only afford to buy one, hands down, it would be the Home Learning Year by Year would be my top suggestion, because this book goes from preschool to high school. And if you need to, have that list of things that you should be covering each year in each grade, this is definitely it. And like I said before, it covers every single subject you could ever want. And for like history, it gives you the different options. So it tells you how the public school learns history, which is like closer to home, meaning your town, all the way out to the world. It slowly moves. And then it also gives you like the classical rotation. And the same thing for science. It gives you the classical rotation there too. So even if you're thinking, oh, we don't want to learn exactly the way, the public school learns, it kind of tells you, if you wanted to learn this way, if you wanted to learn this way. And there's also suggestions within the book for maybe some other books and some other games too, to help you learn those standards that they're saying you should learn. So hands down, for planning my homeschool year, if you're not gonna, be the mom who uses a curriculum start to finish, which I will never be, my top suggestion is the Home Learning Year by Year. And I'll make sure I leave the link in the description box down below. Happy planning!